It's February 12th, 2014. And recently I came across a parody of a Mormon Stake President's blog. And I found an article on that blog, I think from 2011, talking about oral sex and reminding us that it wasn't just Spencer Kimball's letter on oral sex that is at issue. There were some comments by other Mormon leaders and whatnot, kind of related. And then there's Boyd Packer with his stupid little book, pamphlet on masturbation given to boys. And then there's Spencer Kimball's Bible called Miracle of Forgiveness. Spencer Kimball's anti-human, anti-sex, anti-pleasure, anti-fun, anti-normal human Bible called Miracle of Forgiveness, that was used as a Bible to teach young people in the Mormon Church about how they should be afraid of their genitals and afraid of their reproductive system that's built into their bodies. And so, when you think about it, there's not only a dichotomy between the horn dog nature of the founders of Mormonism, sleeping with other men's wives and sleeping with 14 and 15-year-olds. There's that hypocrisy. But then there's also even the current deal. Even if you exclude the actions of Joseph Smith and Brigham Young, there's a hypocrisy that comes in with people saying they don't like porn, but then here's this book, Little Johnny and Little Susie. Here's this book that talks about necking and petting and masturbation and all these things that as a little kid you never really heard of all that much. And here's your first introduction to all that stuff. Oh, and if you masturbate, you might become gay. And we're going to give you your first introduction to what it is to be gay. You know, if you masturbate, you'll become gay. We're going to be the first ones who tell you that, you know. In the first instance, we're going to be your sex educators. Okay? We're going to provide your sex education for you. If you touch if you touch your reproductive organs as a kid coming of age, we're going to teach you about that for the first time. You know? So in the first instance, they are the people introducing what is essentially perversion in the sense that they are teaching you to hate and to loathe something which you should not hate and loathe or fear. They'll teach you to fear something which you should not fear. Something which you should embrace and rejoice in rather than fear. So they are the people being perverse in the first instance. Perverse, a perverse way of teaching children about sex and dealing with adults about sex also. Perverse in the first instance, teaching people to fear. They're built in by evolution, by natural selection, reproductive systems. Okay? So, the 1980s isn't that long ago. And the Mormon Church is trying to use all its money and stuff to gloss over things, and they're having a big PR campaign, which is somewhat successful, with people saying, oh, well, those Mormons and Mitt Romney, and oh, they just want to help people. Yeah, they're just all about family. Yeah, I don't think so. If you're all about family, then why did the founders of your religion sleep with other men's wives? Weren't they kind of breaking up pre-existing families? Huh? And if you're all about family, are you all about family if you teach kids, and by extension adults who grew up from being a kids, teach them to be afraid of their built-in reproductive system? It's going to make them be unhappy in their marriages. And you even have to wear the Mormon garments when you're having sex. Okay? So, let's not forget that the key people who bring all these things up, necking and petting. Oh, what's petting? That's where you take your hand and you touch the genitals of someone you might like. Who taught us about that in the first instance? Huh? Who? Who taught us about homosexuality comes from masturbation in the first instance? And that's an incredible lie. Anyway. And I realize that there's a tension between things like people who say STFU parents, shut the fuck up parents. There's a lady who has a website about that and on Facebook. She doesn't like so-called oversharing by parents because she doesn't want to be reminded of the fact that people have kids and what joys they might find from a kid growing up. And then there's people like my sister who has chosen to not have kids because of concerns about overpopulation and environmental concerns. And she's been cheated by that and abused by that idea. And then there's my uncle who died of AIDS, leaving his straight family with no father, because he figured, let's let it all hang out. And then there's my gay nephew who lives an incredibly petty and shallow life, and who befriended a guy who was released from prison, another gay man who was also abused kids when he was a scoutmaster. And so, like I say, we do have gay association with gay people who are nice and who are more level-headed and not quite so petty and shallow, who are really more service-oriented, who spend their lives helping others. That's good. But not everything's black and white, and you have to differentiate. Or you have to be willing to speak the truth and speak what your opinion is. So I was thinking, okay, is there any can you make a secular case for conservative social arguments? I think you can to some extent, but not for the same reasons and not quite as harshly as what the ultra-religious people who do. That if you're ultra-religious and you try to make a secular argument, I think you're going to be too harsh because your brain is still weighed down by your religiosity. But we can make secular arguments in favor of, being pro-life and saying that abortion be discouraged. But the differentiation is the ultra-religious nut job will say, oh, we have to ban abortion from the very first heartbeat. That's stupid. But I can agree that we should discourage abortion. And so that's the difference between having a secular argument that is not based on religious nut jobbery and have for a conservative social idea, and having a conservative social idea that is still grounded in nut job religiosity. Okay? So anyway, times are changing. People are having gay marriage, and I just think we need to have a discussion on selfishness and pettiness and abusiveness, and call that out wherever that may lie, on the conservative and on the liberal side. So to the people who get married and don't have kids, they're making just as big a mistake as, I guess, the gay couple who does the same thing, I guess. I don't know. Marriage isn't just about two people. It is about reproduction. And it's about creating a stable and healthy environment for kids. Okay? So, anyway. All right. Have fun.